in Nyhard, you're saying it's going to save you money by eliminating our post office, but we're still have the right to have some sort of delivery of mail. And a lot of you're elderly with your prescription drugs, or a lot with the situation with Nyhard, considering it's, being a mining Superfund site and those type of things. There's types of tests that need to take place. It still needs to leave and come.
$3,700 post offices nationwide are being put under consideration to be shut down. 80% of those post offices are in urban settings. Only 20% in the nation are in rural settings. However, in Montana, it's just the opposite. 80% are in rural areas that are being shut down, only 20% being shut down in urban areas. My name is Charlie Willett, and I've lived in Nyhard, Montana for 28 years, my entire life. When I first heard about the post office's closing, it didn't really bother me. Didn't seem like it would make that much of a difference. Especially to someone like me. I don't hardly ever use the post office, so I wondered why everyone was getting so upset.
Stand up and let everyone in Nyhard know that they're trying to shut us down all the way across the board here.
Was it only that the post offices were closing that people were getting mad? Or was there any other reasons? We set out on this mission to discover what people had to say about the post offices closing around Montana. We discovered 4 distinguishing main reasons people want to have the post offices kept open. The first one is the driving distances. For a lot of these rural communities, driving distance is a huge factor. Secondly is medications that need to be mailed and cannot freeze. In these rural communities, again, it gets very cold and very difficult to get to any other destinations. The third, and this is a very important one, is that it is written in the U.S. Constitution. It is a U.S. constitutional code that says, regardless, rural communities must keep their post offices. The fourth one is all local businesses will be impacted by this. Let me ask you a question. Do you know what it's like to drive in the middle of winter in Montana?
We had one spell here for 14. I lost my figures. We were snowed in tight. I mean, we couldn't get out, period.
Wind hitting your car on one side and snow slapping you up on the other side. The road icy, icy, icy.
Roads are icy and people don't like to drive them, especially if they're from town and if they don't have to, why should they?
No, in Montana, something that will shut us down is 3 or 4 feet.
It ultimately comes down is that the people that get to make the major decision can only be influenced by our congressmen, our representatives of Montana. And I've done that as a person, as a business, and I've written my congressman. But it's the people that are way out there that aren't even making the grasp of it. They don't even grasp the fact that we're driving 60 miles one way just to get groceries. We don't get groceries every day, but we do get mail, and we need mail every day.
Hi everybody, my name is Sandra Schwartz and I live in Monarch, Montana, and it's a small community, Nyhard, Monarch. We're kind of one big 25-mile long community, and there's about 600 residents or 400 residents, and as you can see, it's a really pretty area. It's just gorgeous, and most of us hate going to town for any particular reason. We just make it in there to go grocery shopping or banking or doctors or something like that. And town is 60 miles away, round trip, one way. So we have to drive 120 miles to get much of anywhere.
For showdown, I mean, we're gonna have to go to Monarch, and we might as well go to Belt. And if we're going to Belt, we might as well just be to go to Great Falls. That's that metropolitan area. That's that push they want us to have.
I think I can speak for everyone when I say no one wants to have to drive farther than they already have to, especially people living in rural communities. This becomes a burden on everybody who lives in rural communities and is completely unnecessary. We already have a post office. Why shut it down? Why force the people to drive farther than they have to? Nyhart and Monarch, Montana are really beautiful places. They draw in all sorts of people. People that are recreating, people that have cabins up here that come here on the weekends to enjoy life in the outdoors. And also, it's a great place for people to retire. But unlike people that retire in Florida, that are basically catered to, if you live here, you're dependent on yourself.
My name is Dwayne Johnson, and I live in rural Nyhart, Montana. About a mile off the highway. I'm 78 years old. My wife is 75 years old. In my particular case, and probably many other in town, I get all my medications through the mail. I get liquids and I get injectable drugs that can't freeze, eye drops, nose sprays, arthritis medicines. Anyway, I can't conceive not being able to get them when I need them, because most of these can't freeze.
So as I sat and talked with Mary and Dwayne Johnson, I realized just how important it was that they received their medications through the mail. How they depended on somebody to make sure it got there on time and make sure it didn't freeze. How they trusted their postmaster, their local postmaster, in making sure that it was there. This was an issue that never crossed my mind. I don't use medication. Okay, so here in Helmville, who do you think is most affected, or the variety of people who are affected as well?
You know, in Helmville, I think that because we are so rural, we're about 65 miles from the closest big town, between 45 and 65 miles. A lot of those older people are taking prescription drugs that cannot be left alongside the road, along a highway in a mailbox. They're safer in a post office. And, you know, some of our older people can't necessarily drive themselves to town to get their medicine. But when they're a few miles away, or their daughter or son can pick it up at the post office box where it's safe, I think that's going to greatly affect our population here.
If you take the post offices away, you're putting people's lives in danger. They have to get to their medications. Their only other option is to move to the cities, where the medication is readily available. And none of these people want to do that.
I made on two black and white. Section 101B of Title 39 of U.S. Code reads as follows. The Postal Service shall provide a maximum degree of effective and regular postal service to rural areas and small towns where post offices are not self-sustaining. Yeah. No small post office shall be closed solely for operating at a deficient. I don't understand why any of this is happening, given the fact that this is a part of the U.S. Code.
Now the way I look at it, America is like one big brick wall. Each brick is kind of an entity of the government. Schools, highway department, post office. And right now, the government is in the process of peeling away or pulling out one brick at a time. One here, one here.
So, you know I could be really black and white, but I don't get it. You know, I just don't get it. And then the Postal Service, we're really caught in a conundrum here, the people that live here, because the Postal Services, their representatives that came to talk to us about these closings, are telling us that it's Congress's fault again. That they passed a law in 2006 requiring the post office to fund their retirement and maybe even their health care plan in a 10-year span. And there's not another business in the United States that has to do that, nor is there another business that thinks that that would be a responsible thing to their stockholders. And we're stockholders, so to speak, of the post office.
Now, we started at the very bottom. What do we know about the very bottom of any foundation? You start pulling the foundation away, the rest of the building will come down. In this case, the wall. Take enough little entities away, and the whole system will crash. Now, I'm not saying that closing 3,700 post offices is going to do that, but I do know that that could be a start. Give us your 2 cents on
I think it officially makes us a third world nation. I truly do. I think I mean, that's the icing on the cake. They've destroyed our nation basically when they start shutting down the post offices. So, you know, and why don't they take some of this missing stimulus money and put it into the Postal Service in order to maintain these postal offices in these small communities like this all over this, well, all over the western, well, all over the United States, period. But mostly in the western United States is where you have these small communities like Basin or Wisdom or Wise River or Nyhart or some of these places, you know, that do have these small facilities. And that is the community, that's the emphasis, the center of the community is the post office.
The United States Constitution is a formula for a country's success. America created it, the successful formula. Why are we taking parts of that formula and throwing it away? AKA the post office. We need these sort of entities in our world for us to function. The post office is a basic entity of our country. It is no different than our school systems or our highway departments or any other government facility. Let me give you a little history. In 1896, under President Grover Cleveland, Postmaster General William Wilson was funded by Congress for an experimental rural mail delivery service. At this time, 2/3 of the population were farmers, and the post office enabled all Americans to communicate nationwide. This experiment would inevitably allow the United States commerce to boom. So it's a bit ironic that today, the first post offices Postmaster General Patrick Donahue is taking away are the most rural. And the first to feel the impact will be these small businesses. I need to find out from some real business people how it exactly would affect it. Would it be detrimental that the post offices are being closed? Or is there a solution that businesses have in mind?
I'm George Willett. I am co-owner and operator of the Showdown Ski Area in Nyhart, Montana. And I've been here for 40 years.
How do you feel about the post offices in Nyhart getting closed?
Well, it's a real sad, I think, that the post office in Nyhart is closing. We use it extensively for our business. Our postage is anywhere from $7,000 to $12,000 a year, depending on what we do, and we have a lot of certified mail. Figure out another way to keep post offices open so the people are served, and get your decrease in funds at the higher end of the spectrum so that the people aren't penalized. The government shouldn't be subsidizing the post office. It should be a profitable operation based on its own operations and not need money from the government.
Viable small businesses are the core of sustaining rural economies. Small towns don't exist without businesses turning money over in those communities. It's already expensive enough to do business in the United States of America. Providing mail service to small businesses allows us to take care of our employees, provide insurance, stimulate the economy, all the things that we're expected to do as a small business.
When we were in Helmville, I started to realize just how many businesses were affected. Not in a great way, but in a small way. Just like ranchers, or teachers even. We decided we'd try to find a rancher. We asked around the town and everyone seemed to say the same thing, Bob Gary. In Helmville, Bob Gary, he must be the man. He had a small ranch, located just on the outskirts of Helmsville. And he had plenty to say about the post office's closing and how it would affect him.
My name is Bob Gary.
And how long have you lived in Helmville?
Lifetime.
Lifetime.
62 years.
How is the post office closures going to affect you as a rancher?
We receive a great deal of merchandise through the mail. The closure is not something we can't eventually learn to cope with, but it is an umbilical cord out of here. We're 20-some miles one way to the Drummond post office, which could be a real headache. The mail delivery to Helmville has always been a very important part of life here. We still call it the stage from the early days when it was stagecoach. The stage at one point not only brought the mail, but it brought in employees, it brought groceries. We have veterinary supplies sent up on the stage. We lose our heritage without a post office.
These small businesses already are saving every single penny they can in order to keep their head above the water. By taking the post offices away, you're strangling them. You're taking their savings away. You are taking someone's college fund away. And by doing this, you're deteriorating America's fabric. We must learn to sew these entities back together and become a strong nation again. But what it means to me is that it's a symbol of our deteriorating country. A country that once stood on high grounds based on something called the Constitution. Something that couldn't be shaken. Something that was there no matter what, through rain, sleet, and snow.
Please don't close our post office down.
I'm Joy Lewis. I live in Basin, Montana. Please don't close my post office.
I'm Whitney Westervelt, and my parents own the Nyhart and Convenience Store, and we would like you to please not close the Nyhart post office.
Leave the post offices open. Don't close the Nyhart post office.
My name's Ben Hogan. I'm from Nyhart, Montana. Please do not close our post office.
My name is Avery Gold, and I'm from Helena, Montana. Please don't close the post office.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, and I vacation in Nyhart, Montana, and I really think it would be a disservice to this community if they close the post office.
Do not shut our post office down.
Please do not close our post office.
My name is Angie Bissett. I live in Helmville, Montana, and I'm begging you, please do not close our post office.
Do not shut our post office down.
Hi, I'm Susie Shue. I live in Helmville, Montana. Please don't close our post office.
Please don't close my post office.
Please don't close our post office.
Ladies and gentlemen, a Mr. Michael McCord.
I'm the mayor of Nyhart, and I'm very disappointed to hear that they're going to potentially close down our post office. I believe the post office is essential to any community to make sure that you've got a focal point for people to come to. There's probably not going to be decent service that will be picked up by either FedEx or UPS. So we're going to see degradation of service in the town, and I think that's going to be very harmful over time. So, as the mayor of Nyhart, I'd like to say that I'm totally opposed to closing the post office, and I wish they'd reconsider. Thank you.
We are occupying post office. Out.